Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. As I lay in the hospital bed close to death, my parents were at a concert. They were watching Helen, their adopted daughter, perform. She was the one they loved most. I saw James holding flowers get down on one knee right there in the audience. "Helen, will you marry me?" he asked. Everyone cheered and clapped as they kissed and hugged. Finally, they were a family. And at that moment I took my last breath. My whole life I had been trying to compete with Helen. I fought for everything, only to end up alone and feeling resentful. But I was their real daughter. If I could have a do-over, I would stay far away from them. "Mom, Dad, I don't need your love anymore. I feel like I've been reborn." Next to me, my parents were holding 11-year-old Helen's shoulders, smiling at the cameras. The news the next day would say, "Famous musician adopts late friend's daughter. A true act of kindness. What's done is done, and it's too late now." Helen is the daughter of my parents' friends who passed away. She's a musical talent with a heart problem. Her parents had tried everything to help her, but an accident left her all alone. My parents felt sorry for her because of this, and they decided to take care of her. Eventually, they forgot that I was their own daughter. "Molly," my mom had said, "didn't you always say it was boring being alone? Now you have a sister to keep you company. Aren't you happy?" They all smiled, thinking I would be thrilled to have a new sister. They thought they were being so thoughtful. In my past life, I really believed them. I thought I had gained a friend, and I treated Helen, who seemed so fragile, like family. I never realized that Helen was secretly taking everything that should have been mine until she completely replaced me. Coming back to the present, Dad was still talking. "Helen is sick," he said. "As her sister, you must take good care of her and protect her." "Got it." Right after that, Helen's eyes started to fill with tears. "What if my sister isn't used to having someone else take Mom and Dad's love?" she asked, sounding so innocent. "Who would be that generous?" "Don't worry, Uncle Aunt. I was okay in the orphanage." I often wonder if Helen was born to act. At 10 years old, she plays the victim perfectly, making me look like the bad guy without even trying. I hadn't even said anything, and she made it seem like I was selfish, like I expected. Mom immediately felt sorry for her and held her gently. "Helen, don't overthink it. You are our family," she said. Dad also held Helen's small hand warmly, saying, "That's right. From now on, our home is your home. We are your parents." With tears running down her face, Helen looked like a sad but sweet child. "Thank goodness I finally have a family," she sobbed, burying herself deeper into Mom's arms. The cold winter wind howled outside, and everyone was moved by this show of warmth and family. Dad, Mom, and Helen huddled close together like a family that had been apart for a long time. I stood on the side, feeling like I didn't belong. Talent is that she can steal the attention without making a sound, becoming the center of everything. At home, my parents asked me to show Helen around. They had us share my room, splitting my princess bed in half for her. Just like their love, now it was divided. I started planning how I would get away from this house, which Helen would use as her own stage. I knew from before that once Helen arrived, my parents and my childhood friend James would all focus on her. I would be seen as her enemy, the one standing in her way. As I was thinking about the future, Helen suddenly screamed and fell off a step, holding her chest in pain. "Ah, my heart hurts so much," she cried desperately. My parents rushed over, looking panicked. They picked her up, visibly worried. "Helen, hang on. We'll get you to a hospital," they said, holding her close. "Mom, Dad, maybe I should go back," Helen murmured through tears. "My sister might not like me." My heart sank at those words. The next thing I knew, Dad's face was angry as he pulled me downstairs, accusing me. "What did you do? How could you be so mean? Helen's so sick and she lost her family. You bullied her," he said. "Enough. Helen's health is the priority. We're going to the hospital." Mom held Helen and left without even looking at me. I felt hopeless, wishing my parents weren't so easily fooled by her kindness. How could I have pushed Helen from such a distance? If she was really having heart problems, how could she act the victim so perfectly? They blamed me without even letting me explain. They took Helen away, leaving me home alone and hungry. Mom used to have dinner with me and tuck me in before she went out. Now they only saw Helen, forgetting that I needed love and care too. that I got hungry, cold, and scared of being alone. I slowly realized that after Helen arrived, the title of obedient and sweet daughter was given to her. I became the bad child who didn't want to share. Helen's trick was to act weak, playing on my kind-hearted parents' sympathy, leaving me with guilt that wasn't mine. Their disappointment in me kept growing. I couldn't accept it, so I started trying to compete with Helen, always trying to be better than her. But Helen was just too good at playing the victim. To everyone else, she was the sweet, innocent child that everyone loved. She got praised like it was nothing. Everyone in the music scene knew about the parents with a talented adopted daughter named Helen. She seemed delicate but strong, while I felt invisible to them. To them, I was just ordinary, unremarkable. But I was competitive. I spent my life trying to outdo Helen, only to end up losing everything. I lay in a cold hospital room taking my last breath. She stole my parents' love. And even James, who used to be my closest friend, fell for her instantly. In this life, I've decided not to make the same mistakes. I'm going to live for myself. The next morning, laughter and talking from downstairs woke me up. It was my birthday. Just a few days ago, my parents had said they would plan something nice and take me out for a fancy meal. When I went out of my room, I saw Helen sitting on the sofa surrounded by Mom and Dad. She was wearing my favorite princess dress. That was my 12th birthday gift from my mom. When they saw me, the laughter stopped, like I was an unwelcome guest ruining their happy moment. Mom had a forced smile on her face. Seeing that I noticed the dress, she quickly explained, "Molly, Helen really likes that dress. As her older sister, why don't you give it to her? I'll buy you a new one later." Standing on the stairs, I looked down at them feeling nothing. I said, "It's just a birthday gift. As long as you guys are happy." As soon as I said that, everyone seemed to understand what I really meant. Dad's expression turned cold immediately. "Molly, it's just a dress. Why are you being so sarcastic?" he snapped. Mom seemed uncomfortable too, saying, "Molly, how can you say that? Apologize to your sister now. My birthday gift was given away, yet they made it seem like I was the one being mean. Maybe that's how favoritism works. Whatever Helen does, she's never at fault. I'm always the problem. In my last life, I would have been heartbroken by their favoritism. I would have locked myself in my room and cried. But now I only managed a small smile. Looking at the leftovers on the table, everyone else had already eaten breakfast except for me. So did anyone remember it's my birthday today? My parents froze. They had clearly forgotten. "Oh, yesterday we were so busy taking Helen to the doctor we didn't notice the date," Mom rushed to say, trying to make things less awkward, covering up that she had forgotten her own daughter because of Helen. Dad, however, didn't like my questioning tone. He tossed the remote onto the glass coffee table, making a sharp noise. "You should have reminded us yesterday. We're so busy all the time. You're spoiled, thinking you're the center of the world and everyone should revolve around you. It's just a birthday. There's always next year. It's not as important as Helen's health. We'll take you out for a meal later." Even if I had reminded them yesterday, they would have only cared about making it up to fragile Helen. If it were the old me, Dad's words would have crushed me. I would have cried and thrown a fit, earning the label of being difficult and ungrateful. But now I felt nothing. I calmly walked down the stairs and, feeling a bit sad, looked up. I saw Helen with a small smirk and a flash of satisfaction in her eyes. The next second, she frowned as if she were about to cry. "Dad, please don't blame my sister. It's my fault. I shouldn't have gotten sick. Shouldn't have worn her dress and made her upset. I'll go back to the orphanage. You celebrate Molly's birthday. I'll always remember how good you and Mom were to me, and repay you when I grow up." After hearing her words, my parents were clearly moved. "What an understanding little girl," Mom said. "Despite all she's been through, she's still so kind and gentle, not like spoiled me who grew up in comfort." The three of them hugged again, acting like I didn't exist at all. In my last life, I tried so hard to win back my parents' love, but only fell into Helen's traps, growing more distant from them. It's not that my parents didn't love me. Their love was just so weak that a few of Helen's fake words could steal their attention, swapping their real daughter for their adopted one. If it could be taken away so easily, then maybe it wasn't really mine. In this life, I refused to waste my energy on this messed up love. But I will let Helen know that everything she schemed to get is meaningless to me. My parents and even James, whom she took from me, are just minor characters in my life now. My parents took me and Helen to a restaurant nearby. When the food arrived, it was all seafood. Lobster, sea cucumber, and crab. Oh great, I'm allergic to seafood. Molly, you know Helen needs good nutrition because she's not in great health, Mom said, urging me. Be a good sister and let it slide. So this was all Helen's favorite food. Compromise and let it slide. These words had become too familiar since she came along. I was tired of hearing them. Throughout lunch, Mom kept putting food on Helen's plate, and Dad watched them lovingly, hardly looking my way. I ate without thinking. The food had no taste. Afterward, the plan was to go to the amusement park, something I had wanted for a long time. But a call about Helen's school enrollment changed everything, and they left me behind. Is it my birthday today or hers? I finally couldn't hold it in anymore, and wanted to ask if my parents realized how unfair they were being. Molly, you can celebrate your birthday every year, but this opportunity is rare for Helen, Mom said gently. But her words were all about Helen, as if there was no room for discussion. Every time something conflicted with Helen, Mom comforted me this way, but I never got what she promised. Sis, I'm sorry. Helen started to cry pitifully again, making our parents feel all sympathetic. Dad gave me a cold look, as if I were the biggest enemy of the family. It's just a birthday. Don't be so dramatic, he said. We already took you out for a meal. What more do you want? Why do you have so many demands? Can't you be more like Helen? She's younger and understands more than you do. But when it came to Helen's birthday, Mom and Dad took her to a fancy hotel, threw a big party, and invited everyone important in the music scene. They dressed her up like a princess and seemed eager to introduce her to everyone. They left with Helen without looking back. Helen slightly looked over her shoulder and gave me a challenging smile, as if to say, "See, your parents are so easy for me to take away." I ignored her and walked home by myself, finally letting go of all my hopes. Once I got back, I cleared out my old room and moved into the guest room. Not to please Helen, but because I wanted the peace and quiet to focus on my studies, so I could get out of this house as soon as possible. Helen out who knows where. They returned later and seemed even happier that I had willingly given up my room. If only you'd been this sensible earlier, Mom said. We always knew you're a good daughter at heart. We know you like this. We went to great lengths to get it. We hope you'll keep this attitude and get along with Helen. Okay. Mom took out a brand new limited edition princess dress. It was a gift my past self had only dreamed of getting. She placed it in my arms and patted my head. That kind of tenderness reminded me of the days before Helen came into our lives. Back then, I would have been thrilled to get their approval, but now it felt different. Only by putting Helen first was I worthy of a reward. Helen wasn't happy with me just giving up the room. Her eyes showed envy when she saw the special dress. Soon she stood in front of us, clutching the dress, tears streaming down her face like pearls. I had a bad feeling. Before, she would act and cry her way into getting my birthday presents. And now she opened her small hand to show us the dress torn into pieces, with the sleeves and hem hanging off. Sis, I know you don't like me, but the dress didn't do anything wrong. How could you take your anger out on it? It wasn't me, I said quickly, trying to defend myself. Dad wouldn't even listen. He snatched the dress from my arms and handed it to Helen. I thought you finally learned better, but you've just been hiding it. We got you a new dress and you went and ruined Helen's. You're still so petty, he accused. Mom looked at me disappointedly. Molly, you're becoming more stubborn. We work all day and take care of you and your sister. And you can't even try to be like Helen, more understanding. I had enough and finally asked what I had always wanted to know. I didn't do it. Why do you always believe a stranger over your own daughter? Instead of an answer, Dad angrily slapped me, pointing at my nose. Because Helen is sweet, obedient, and likable and you're not. How can you compare? Would Helen ruin something she loves? You made a mistake and can't admit it. After they protected Helen like she was some precious treasure, she wiped away her tears and acted all innocent. Mom and Dad, don't be mad at sis. It's my fault. I shouldn't have wanted her dress. I just never saw something so pretty at the orphanage. Sister, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Mom and Dad bent down, comforting her. softly glaring at me to apologize to Helen. Helen is being generous by not holding it against you, but you, as her sister, can't even accept her. Apologize to Helen. You're just spoiled by us. Seeing them united with Helen against me, I felt like the outsider, adopted and alone, facing a cold and unfair reality. Remember this, I said. I didn't do anything wrong. I will not apologize. Ignoring Helen's smug look, I went straight to my room, locked the door, and blocked out Dad's furious yelling, Mom's heavy sighs, and Helen's sobs. Both then and now nothing changed. Even when I wanted nothing to do with Helen, I got caught in her little show, making my parents dislike me more and more, while they took Helen out to enjoy the park until sunset. Before, I might have been devastated and thought about running away, but now I calmly sat with my vocabulary book, quietly studying. In this second chance at life, with 27 years of experience, I aced all my finals, ranking first in the entire grade. I won first place in every academic competition I entered. With these achievements, I earned a full scholarship for high school and a $1,000 scholarship. Helen, on the other hand, did terribly, scoring lower than almost everyone else. Mom and Dad paid a lot of money to get her into a decent school, yet they never blamed her. Instead, they comforted her by putting me down. I bet if it weren't for Helen's health issues, she would have done much better than she did. Mom said, "Worst case scenario, your parents could always sign you up for more tutoring classes." Dad added, "Exactly. With Helen's massive musical talent, she's going to be a musician someday. You can't compare her to some bookworm buried in books." Sometimes I really can't understand why there are parents who are so biased. For Helen, it was all about caring and patience. But for me, their own daughter who was at the top of the school, they couldn't care less. To the point where, just to keep me from feeling hurt, they told me to stay in my room on those days. Honestly, I didn't mind. No one bothering me meant I could focus on my studies more. But Helen's curse never stopped. Whenever I started studying, that annoying piano sound would blare from next door. Once again, they chose the special music path for Helen. Stepping out of my room, I found the three of them talking by the piano room. When they saw me, they all stopped like I was someone they had to hide from. "Is Big Sis mad because my piano playing is too loud?" Helen asked, looking sadly at her hands. "If it upsets you, I guess I'll just stop playing." Mom's eyes softened, and she looked at me with words she seemed to hold back before finally speaking up. "Molly, your sister's not in great health and needs to stay home. You can study at a library nearby. Give your room to Helen." I found it ridiculous. I was getting kicked out of my own home just because of Helen. In my past life, I fought with her, wanting to study music too, wanting to play the piano. It caused endless family arguments. And in the end, Helen sat in my room playing my piano, taught gently by our parents, surrounded by love, playing duets with them. Me, a 12-year-old kid, had no choice but to take the bus every day to a piano room 5 miles away. Every piece she played was carefully recorded by my parents on expensive recorders. All I got were poor recordings on my phone. Every single time, Helen's request meant I had to step back. No one cared about my feelings. Once both Helen and I entered a music college competition. Halfway through, Helen pretended to have a heart attack and couldn't finish the piece, so she just submitted one of my compositions. The judges questioned the similarity in style, which got attention online. I tried telling the truth to the organizers, but my parents got there first, publicly saying it was Helen's original piece. They comforted the tearful Helen but ignored my breakdown, warning me not to be aggressive. "Molly, just give Helen what she wants," Mom said. "Sisters should share. After all, Helen's been frail since she was young. Have some compassion. It's not like she does this on purpose. Do you really want to push her to despair? Why did I always have to give in? Wasn't it enough that she took my parents from me? Now she wanted my future too." They made things seem so simple, but they knew nothing about how long I had practiced, how many nights I had spent perfecting a piece, only to have all that effort dismissed with a few words. My frustrations never got any sympathy from my parents. Instead, Dad angrily pushed me down. "Why are you shouting? If it weren't for Helen's condition, do you think she'd care about your average stuff? Do you think you have any talent for music? Going to music school is just wasting money." Mom shook her head with disappointment. "Molly, you're being hurtful. Where are your manners?" From then on, I carried the shame of being labeled a plagiarizer, known in music circles, mocked for not being as talented as an adopted sibling with a heart condition, effectively blacklisted. Meanwhile, Helen enjoyed fame and fortune through reviews praising her talent, loved by critics and audiences, getting into a prestigious music school. Reborn, I threw the piano room key on the floor. "Do whatever makes you happy," I said without looking back. I stormed out, even though I knew my parents would sigh about my rebelliousness and Helen would smile at her success. But I wasn't going to waste energy looking back. Forward, that's all I could focus on. But even when I stopped fighting, Helen's curse remained. If I refused to give in, my parents threatened to cut my allowance. Luckily, being reborn meant I never relied on my parents. Under Helen's spell, I had saved money over the years from New Year's gifts and contest winnings, adding up to about $3,000. Seeing that their threat had no effect shook my parents, making them think I had secret plans, challenging them openly. "You think we won't kick you out? Let's see how arrogant you are then." I calmly showed them the laws protecting minors. That shut them up immediately, leaving them to complain, accusing me of rebellion and disobedience. But I had long gotten used to their weak anger. It went in one ear and out the other. As winter break approached, James came home for the holidays from abroad. In my previous life, I had hoped my very biased parents would drive me to despair, hoping James, who always said he would protect me, would side with me. But the moment he met Helen, he fell for her hard. James came to my house looking for me but found Helen looking unsteady and clutching her heart. She leaned on him, pale-faced and teary-eyed, looking like a fragile flower, making him want to protect her. He started taking her to parties, introducing her to his friends, completely forgetting the engagement our families had planned for me. Helen would subtly show faint bruises on her arms. Once James noticed, she would act embarrassed and say, "No, it's nothing. Next time, James, you should really bring big sis. You two grew up together after all." James got very worried when he heard her and quickly declared, "Helen, if anyone bullies you, I'll make sure they deal with me first." He rushed over with a little white flower, angrily asking me, "Molly, when did you become so unfair? Helen is such a nice girl. Why are you picking on her?" "Unfair? Please, you guys can't see anything else." Once Helen sheds a couple of tears, I said. I crossed my arms and looked coldly at James, who was eager to play the hero. "Why don't you ask what exactly I did that upset her? Was it giving up my dress, my bedroom, or the music room to her? Or maybe because at my birthday party, all the dishes were her favorite seafood?" Helen's face turned red as I listed everything, and she nervously twisted her fingers, afraid James might realize the truth. But to James it looked like I was subtly threatening Helen, and that she was just being patient to avoid conflict. Seeing Helen all flustered and upset, James got really mad and shouted at me, "You're just jealous because I've taken Helen to a few parties. The engagement stuff was just a childhood joke. I never liked you. Don't pick on her again or you'll regret it." In my past life, hearing these harsh words from James, who used to do anything for me, broke my heart. I couldn't eat for days and was determined to outshine Helen to prove myself. But now I know people like them belong together. I just want them to never bother anyone else. I walked away without looking back, but from the corner of my eye, I saw James carefully comforting Helen in his arms. Probably worried I might hurt Helen, James took a year off from his studies abroad just to stay and protect his sweetheart. But before the new school year started, I applied to live on campus. I couldn't wait to leave that cold-hearted home. Being born again and doing well in my studies, I finished 3 years of junior high school in 1 year and skipped straight to high school. The principal, impressed with my grades, made an exception and waived my tuition and boarding fees. The high school is the best academic school in the city with a tough class system. The workload and pressure are much higher than in junior high. I have to work hard to stay in the honors class. After settling my living arrangements, I focused completely on my studies. I thought moving out would mean Helen would calm down, but she didn't. Even though the junior and high school buildings aren't close, one day I saw her in my classroom. "Sis," she said, "it's been a while since school started and you haven't called home. Mom and Dad said they wouldn't give you pocket money, but that's just talk. I've tried to calm they're really worried about you." Helen deliberately spoke loudly. Soon everyone was staring at us. Helen looked all dressed up while I was just plain. Her words were misleading, making it seem like she was the family's real daughter, and I was some ungrateful foster kid. Some students who already disliked me for skipping grades took the opportunity. Molly's so ungrateful, isn't she? Who treats their parents like that? One said. Her younger sister is more mature, another added. She's only good at academics, not at dealing with people. Does she think she's all that? I frowned, about to say something, but Larry, who sat next to me, interrupted the chatter. Quiet down, he said. If you're all so bored, go home. Don't bother those who want to study. Silence fell. No one dared to speak because he was not only the top student but also the student council president. Nobody wanted to get in trouble with him. Seeing her plan fail, Helen stomped off, pretending she was having a heart attack. I gave Larry a grateful nod and whispered, "Thanks." He nodded slightly and slid his notes to me. I understood and smiled. Larry isn't very talkative, and many people think he's serious and stiff. But being close to him and on the same academic team, I've gotten to know him better. He's actually a nice guy. When you ask him questions, he's patient and thorough. He's just not good at small talk. Helen put Larry on my things she wants to take list after that day. Everything I have she wants to take. So she aggressively started chasing after Larry. But whether it was something small or important, Larry turned her down like an icy wall. After failing many times, she finally gave up. Thinking she would finally leave me alone, I focused on preparing for the school competition. Just as Larry and I left the library for dinner, Helen jumped out with our parents, who I hadn't seen in ages, behind her. They showed up daily to pick up their precious adopted daughter, but never once looked at their own daughter in the same school. Pointing at Larry and me, she loudly exclaimed, "Mom, Dad, look! She's in a relationship. Always hanging out with this guy." Dad and Mom got very angry, accusing me of having no morals and saying I should be sent to a strict camp. They even threatened to talk to the teachers to fix the school's environment. A crowd gathered and people started whispering about Larry and me. Helen gave me a wicked smile. I pulled out my phone and opened a picture I had taken by chance after school. In it, Helen and James were hugging and kissing under a streetlight. My parents were too shocked to speak. "This," my mom stammered, glaring between Helen and me. I gave an understanding smile and said, "Just like you saw, the one being affectionate is your adopted daughter." Helen was so mad she was shaking, ready to slap me, screaming, "You little brat! Just you wait." Larry grabbed her and stood between us. With everyone staring, she realized she had lost control. The next second, she put on a teary-eyed act. "Sorry, Mom and Dad, I shouldn't have tried to ask James how to make my runaway sister happy. But sis, why are you so sneaky, even taking misleading photos? If James doesn't like you, is that why you're mad at me? Since you hate me, I guess I should just leave. It's all my fault. I just wanted a mom and dad so badly, and I forgot who the real daughter is here." Her tears streamed down, looking as pitiful as she could, but it made me want to throw up. My parents, though, were heartbroken. The moment they saw her crying, they forgot everything and just comforted her. "Helen, don't cry," Mom said. "We know it's not your fault. We know James. He's just like a brother. It's not strange to hug or hold hands with a brother." Molly twisted everything. "It's her mistake," Dad added. "Molly, if you want to fall, don't drag your sister down with you. Sweetheart, let's not lower ourselves to her level." I wasn't interested in watching their little family drama anymore and left with Larry. Helen's pathetic act only fooled my parents. I didn't even care. But word got to the principal. When I opened the office door, I heard Larry calling the principal Mom. That's when it hit me. Larry was the principal's son. I intended to explain everything, but it seemed like she already knew. She just patted my shoulder and told me to focus on my studies. I glanced at Larry. He must have explained everything to her. Later, I found out the principal gave Helen a warning for spreading lies. If she did it again, she would be expelled. This kept Helen and my parents from causing more trouble. Just like the principal said, for me what mattered was studying. With hard work, I won a gold medal in a competition. My grades stayed in the top 3 in the class, sometimes even better than Larry's. I was getting closer to my dreams. To celebrate my progress, the principal took me out for a meal. Larry came along too. "Molly," the principal said, "you're proactive, ambitious, resilient, with so many great qualities. You're a treasure to be cherished. Honestly, I felt a connection with you the moment I saw you. Your parents might not recognize you, but I'd love to have you as my goddaughter. We could be family. What do you think? Her kind words gave me a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time, like finding a safe place during a storm. I didn't cry when Helen set me up or when my parents blamed me, but now I felt a lump in my throat, tears welling up. Larry seemed uncharacteristically awkward. She doesn't need to be a goddaughter to be family, he said. The principal went to pay the bill, and Larry and I stayed put. We saw Helen holding James' hand, coming towards us with my parents behind them. It seemed they had approved of Helen and James' relationship, replacing our engagement with hers. Helen saw me, gasped, and hid behind James like I was a monster. Playing the part of a fragile bunny, she tugged at James' heartstrings, who immediately started yelling at me. You pretended to be innocent, getting Helen in trouble while you were out on dates with another guy. Tears in her eyes, Helen pleaded. Sis, I shouldn't have been here to bother you. Please don't tell the teachers bad things about me. My parents were angry too, pointing at me. Molly, you've really become something, Dad said. Lying all the time. You abandoned your family for some guy, dragging Helen down. When will you grow up and be responsible like your sister? The principal walked over, her face darkening when she saw Helen and the others. My parents suddenly smiled, nodding at the principal. Helen stepped forward awkwardly, chuckling. It was all a misunderstanding, she said. Sis, you're not going to hold a grudge, are you? In this new life, I had already deleted files from my computer, and Helen's terrible audition cost her a spot at the music academy. Her grades weren't good enough to get into our top school unless the principal showed mercy. Oh, principal, Mom said. We're so grateful. Molly is lucky to have your favor. The principal, clearly not impressed, replied coldly. Molly is excellent on her own. Larry sneered at my shameless family, who only cared about appearances. Molly won a gold medal representing the school and got the top score in the midterms. Did you know any of this? My parents were stunned, too focused on Helen to notice my achievements. James, not happy with Helen lowering herself, looked at us like enemies, snapping. If she doesn't say, who's going to know? Besides, what's the point of good grades? You'll end up working for someone else. I've got enough money to take care of Helen forever. I calmly interrupted. You care more about Helen than she cares for herself. Growing up, her cry for help would bring everyone running. Yet no one brought me a glass of water when I had a fever. There's a lot more. Are these all my faults? Everyone fell silent. My parents hung their heads, maybe reconsidering their actions. Helen, sensing their guilt, started crying and stumbling through her words. Suri, sis. It's all my fault. If it weren't for my bad heart, maybe they wouldn't be so worried about me. Halfway through, she clutched her chest dramatically, squatting down in supposed pain. My parents instantly pushed me aside, focusing only on Helen again. After all, she had been their darling for so long. Even a small bruise on her would break their hearts. You vile woman! James yelled angrily, trying to push me down. You knew Helen has a heart condition and still made things hard for her. But as soon as he moved, Larry grabbed his arm and held it tightly. You've got such basic skills and still want to fight. Larry might look like a nerdy scholar, but he's actually a black belt in Taekwondo. The principal's gaze was icy like a blade, scanning the people around. You blame Molly for not coming home, saying she's cold-hearted. But now do you see why? It's all because of your favoritism. You twisted things unrelated to Molly into being her fault. She didn't look at my parents' reaction afterward, just took us out of there. Worried I'd be hurt by my parents' behavior, she comforted me. For a while I just smiled slightly and shook my head, showing that none of their nonsense would bother me. With college entrance exams coming up, I couldn't let them distract me. I focused on studying and got accepted into Cambridge University with top scores. Thanks to my excellent academic record and the principal's recommendation letter, the university offered to cover my tuition and even gave me a first-class scholarship. Plus, I could easily earn money on the side for living expenses. When choosing my major, I only talked about it with the principal. After the acceptance results came out, I thought my controlling dad would take the chance to scold me. But for the first time ever, he called and spoke to me in the same gentle way he talks to Helen, asking me to come home for dinner. It turned out they had spent all their savings on Helen's medical treatments and her private school. Helen's musical talent had faded because she was lazy, and now even her grades were bad. Casually I asked, "What about James? Didn't he say he could support Helen for life?" All I heard on the phone was Helen crying. James had been forced by his family to study abroad. His family looked down on Helen and told him to break up with her. At first, James resisted, but after his parents stopped giving him money for just a week, he gave in and returned home. My family was deeply in debt. Knowing I earned a good amount working on projects, they hoped I would cover the endless expenses Helen created. To them, I was just someone to use. Having long gotten used to and tired of their snobbish attitudes, I sent them $200,000, telling them it covered my living expenses and what they would have spent on me over the years, cutting ties afterward. Since you've always treated Helen as your only child, I've done what I legally have to. From now on, let's stay out of each other's lives. Hearing this, my father's nice act disappeared, and he roared like he was angry. "You ungrateful girl. Who needs your small amount of money? You've become bold outside, even cocky. Fine then, don't ever come back to this house." I didn't say anything more and hung up the phone. Despite saying they didn't care, they accepted the money in seconds. No wonder Helen fits right into their family. They're just as fake as she is. Larry chose the same major and program as I did. After the college entrance exams, he told me he liked me and I said yes. I got the top score and he got the second highest. Together, we joined a research lab and became a great couple there. One day, after finishing a project, we planned to get food but almost got hit by a car crossing the street. It happened a few more times, like someone was trying to hurt me. Thankfully, my past life's car accident made me very careful about safety in this one. Then I saw the same car that killed me in my former life among the others. I knew it wasn't just a coincidence. When I hired someone to investigate, it turned out Helen was behind it. She wasn't happy with her fame and success in my past life. She wanted me dead to feel secure, so she hired someone to pretend to be a driver and cause an accident. In this life, she was so desperate that she acted sooner. I immediately had my lawyer gather evidence and reported it, making Helen responsible for her actions. As she was taken into the police car, Helen yelled, "Mom, Dad, help me. Make them let me go." Hoping her parents would fix her problems like before, but now facing the law, there was no chance. They grabbed my hands tightly, begging, "Molly, please drop the charges." Helen was just confused for a moment and she's not well. I couldn't hold back anymore and interrupted. "So her poor health is an excuse for taking over your lives and mine, huh?" They didn't know what to say, seeming to forget how to respond. This excuse has been her shield, a weapon that hurt me. Is there any sign of me in this house? Do you see a single picture of me on the wall full of her photos? Ever since Helen came, my smiles disappeared from those walls. Everything taken over by her. With that, I left without looking back while my parents stood in shock, confused. When they took Helen from the orphanage, reporters gathered for interviews. Now, as she's put in jail, they faced another crowd of cameras. It was all celebration before. Now it was nothing but shame. You reportedly cut ties with your own daughter for your adopted one. What are your thoughts on that? Do you regret this decision? My parents looked like they had aged a lot, with wrinkles and gray hair, as they bent over crying into their hands. The spell of favoritism they were under had finally broken completely. "We regret it. We've really made a mistake," they said. But watching this on TV only made me feel a deep sense of irony. Behind me, I heard the principal and Larry's voices. "Molly, I made your favorite salted shrimp today. Come try it," the principal said warmly. Larry added cheerfully, "Already peeled for you." I turned off the TV and walked towards them. "Coming," I replied. Past events have faded away like dust. Not worth thinking about anymore. What's important is my life now with two people who love me, creating a warm home. That's where my happiness begins.